Alright guys, what's up? So the first thing we're gonna jump straight into is Green Lanterns, pretty much, just flat out. We're gonna be doing Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, just starting straight off from Rebirth. And what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna catch you guys kind of up on this situation and how we kind of got to such an explosive start in Rebirth, because they do a pretty good job of covering that in the opening arc, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit more clarity on kind of how desperate things really are, specifically at the start of everything that starts popping off here. So, I mean, starting with issue 0 here, we roll up with the Sinestro Corps. And the Sinestro Corps are sitting in Sector 0 now, which is basically where the Green Lantern Corps were, because the Green Lantern Corps basically just vanished. And that's kind of what we're seeing here in conversation between Sinestro and basically his personal number 2, Lyssa Drac, who is a story witch. She's pretty wildly powerful. Nonetheless, but they're discussing with one another on basically what it is they're doing here, and they're talking back and forth about how basically useless it is for anyone else to oppose them, because they've already won everything. Leading up into this moment, there was a rapture amongst the Green Lanterns, and so anyone wearing a Green Lantern ring was gone, just immediately evaporated. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But nonetheless, someone needed to fill that role of basically protectors of the universe. And when no one else could really step up into the role, of course, Sinestro took that. He seized that opportunity because he foresaw those Green Lanterns leaving and knew that all he had to do was bide his time and wait in order for him to basically claim the universe. Well, he also used his daughter, Soren Ignatu. He used her to basically a former Green Lantern, a very, very powerful and a very charismatic Green Lantern. And before the Green Lantern rapture had occurred, he basically took her and bestowed upon her a Yellow Lantern ring, and she became the new face of the Yellow Lanterns. And during a crazy battle with an undead guardian that was the Master of the Paling, Sinestro basically blew out part of his soul fighting and defeating that crazy level guardian. And as a result of that, he wasn't the man he was before. He lacked power and he was weak. And Soren Ignatu stepped up in his basically almost in his absence. He was still there, but he only offered counsel. And she kind of stepped up and became the face of the Yellow Lanterns, and then the face of the protectors of the universe, basically up until that point. Sinestro and friends had basically convinced the whole Justice League and everyone on Earth that they were good guys, and that maybe that Hal had been wrong about them this whole time. And that's going to bring us to this next point here, is because none of this would happen if Hal Jordan was around, of course, right? If he had a Green Lantern ring. But that's the thing, is everyone with a Green Lantern ring is gone. However, due to events before the Green Lantern rapture, Hal Jordan actually left the Corps and took Krona's gauntlet and basically went out on his own for a while to take a lot of heat off the Corps for the crazy stuff that had been going on while he was in leadership of the Corps. Because, man, Hal Jordan is not the greatest leader in the world, although leadership just isn't his best quality, I guess is what I'm saying. But nonetheless, he went renegade, and honestly was a combatant with the Green Lanterns for quite some time. But when the Green Lantern rapture occurred, he had no clue. He just thought maybe he had lost everyone's trail, because he's well versed in how the Green Lanterns work and things along those lines. However, the interesting part is this is kind of where that picks up from, is we take up on this unknown planet, basically in Sector 563, and it's a short monologue about Hal Jordan and all the things he chooses to remember. But the thing that's happening is that he's changing. Putting that gauntlet on, it's an untested technology that was basically only for Krona, a rogue guardian who was insanely powerful and developed all sorts of things. And putting that on kind of changed Hal Jordan. He was becoming a construct. He was becoming willpower. And it began to affect him. It made him, honestly, a little scared of kind of what he was doing. But as he kind of figured out, all the lanterns were kind of missing, and that seemed really odd. But he had no real way to kind of do anything because he was losing control of his power. He had become so immersed in the powers of almost becoming a construct that he basically began losing his sense of identity and was becoming pure will. And so he needed to basically return to where he was before he lost himself and became a construct. So he decided with the last few things he was going to do with that gauntlet, he was going to forge a Green Lantern ring. However, what he was doing was something that had never been done before. He forged his own lantern ring out of basically his soul and his will alone, out of his own unique willpower, which is something we've only ever seen done by the Guardians, which once again exemplifies just how in tune how the character of Hal Jordan is specifically with the emotion of willpower, flat out. So much so, whenever he's hammering with his, he basically has like an anvil that he's crafting this super dense construct out of. And every time he strikes it, he's basically striking with such a unique force that he's manipulating all the emotion, all the willpower in reality. And it's basically sent as reverberations to extremely powerful characters that we'll see on down the roads. We see the Green Lantern Corps in some unknown place kind of like getting shooken up and kind of getting just feeling it with their rings because they're attached to that emotion. It's kind of like an invisible radio wave almost with the way they play emotions in DC's. We see two Guardians feel what they call tremors within the green light of will. Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern, someone who's insanely in tune with all emotion, can feel it. And Jessica Cruz also feels it on Earth. Of course, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz are two characters who did not get drawn into that place with their rings because they didn't have them on at the time. So they're still around. However, they feel pain based on basically Hal Jordan messing with the concept of willpower. And of course, if anybody would know and or feel this tremor, it would be Sinestro as well. And Sinestro basically realizes that, okay, if I'm going to do really what I need to do, it's time for me to kind of get my jazz together and really solidify my control on the universe. I've already convinced everyone that Soren Ignatu is the leader, but I'm going to show him really what's up. So he descends down to the center of the planet where he had basically melded Parallax, the entity of fear that represents all fear in reality, to a planet. He bound it to a planet, Warworld nonetheless, to basically take that power for himself. And of course, anyone who is extremely relevant in terms of characters that are out there are just feeling the effects of Hal Jordan messing and tampering with willpower at this level. And sure enough, he creates his own ring, and he throws down the gauntlet because, honestly, Hal Jordan is worried about what that gauntlet will do to him. And so he keeps pushing on. He charges up his ring with the lantern that he had. And he kind of is it's kind of like a return to normalcy for his character finally, because for a long time he had been kind of at this really he'd kind of been in this really odd place to where he couldn't quite he had extreme power, but exerting it was difficult on himself mentally. And so now he's back. He has this newfound power he's still kind of tampering with, but it's not as bad without the gauntlet. And so he goes out to kind of investigate what's going on with all the Green Lanterns. And that kind of ends Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps Rebirth issue 1. And it's quite a ride, man, because they try to sum up everything really well there. But once again, things are extremely dire. Sinestro is literally in control of the whole universe. All the Green Lanterns are gone. We know that a few of them, like three or four of them, are out there. But I mean, that's pretty much it. And they're not anywhere that can be found, which is the odd part. But we'll continue on next time whenever we kind of dig into the real crazy stuff that's the really crazy stuff that's about to pop off. Till next time, guys. Bye.